Okay, so MySQL Workbench and SVN and GitHub. So that's what you're going to learn in this chapter. So let's talk about MySQL Workbench a little bit. So if you watched some of our previous chapters, you would have learned about PHPMyAdmin, and I briefly mentioned about MySQL Workbench. It's a free tool that you can download to use like PHPMyAdmin, and you can also connect to remote databases, and you can also create really cool what's called entity relationship diagrams to design your databases, and it's really cool. So you just have to download it, and also you can use that to manage your servers, to check the traffic on your MySQL server, and also to tweak some of the configuration variables to add new users to the MySQL databases and things like that. So server management, entity relationship diagram, and you can also connect to databases and do queries even if the databases even if the database is remote. Okay, really powerful tool. Just go ahead and download it and use it and just get better at using it. It's going to save you hours and hours of time. So now, version control. So why use version control? So this is one thing that I kind of found out late in my career. Before, whenever we were making applications, it was hard to update the site, especially if you have multiple people working on the product, working on the code. Because, for example, I would make a change and then someone else would make a change and overwrite some of the changes that I made, and it's very frustrating, right? And let's say I have this code and I need to put it on the server, and updating the server is just a lot of work, and sometimes like someone overwrote all these lines of codes that I did, and I'm like, okay, what do I do? I mean, we just lost hours and hours of work. Or sometimes let's say you made a change and it crashed everything, and you're like, okay, I don't remember what I did or what line is causing the crash. So you go and try to find it, and your server's like dead, right? So all these horror stories can happen if you don't know how to use version control. So this is how version control works. So basically there's a central repository. So this is where central repository, and this repository contains your latest codes. So let's say you have a computer here, and you got another computer over here, and you got another computer over there. So let's say 3 developers, okay? So what you would do is you would download the latest codes from the repository, and whenever you make a change, you submit it to the repository, okay? So this is number 1, developer number 2. Okay, now let's say developer number 2 also downloads the codes from the central repository, and then whenever he or she makes the update, the codes are submitted to the repository, and same thing. Let's say I submitted some information and there is some conflict with what number 2 has done. I will let you know, and it will say, hey guys, developer number 1 and developer number 2, there are some conflicts with the codes. Go ahead and resolve it. Okay, and you can resolve it, and you can submit the changes back to the repository. Now, the reason this is called a version control is because every time someone makes a change, it creates a new version. So the first version is version 1, and when someone updates it, it becomes version 2, version 3, and so forth. So you can find out, hey, let me find out what developer number 2 did for version 2, and you can see all the changes that person made. And if you wanted to say, okay, everything was fine until version 3, when we did version 4, something broke. Let's go back to version 3, and you can do that really easily. Okay, now, so we explained how the developers use it. The way that you can also update the server is just another computer, right? On the server, you check out the codes from the repository. And once you check it out, either using SVN or GitHub or Git, so this is the live server. When someone makes a change and you want to update this, all you have to do is just access the live server, and you have to usually just put in like one command, like SVN update. And for Git, I think it's also one command line as well. And once you do that, it just updates the server like that. You don't even have to like copy and paste things. It's really easy. If something happens to the server and you want to revert the version, turn the version back to how it was a week ago, it's just another one-line command. So that way it makes it really, really easy for you to update the server. Let's say you also have like a staging server. That's when you go, before you put it out on the live site, you just want to test things, right? So you can check out certain version of your code to the staging server, and you can test things there and fix all the bugs. And then once all the bugs are fixed, then you can deploy all the latest codes to the live server with the live. So it makes it super efficient for developers to work together. It adds accountability because you know exactly who's making what changes. You can also set it up so that whenever there's a change, this repository will email you so that you can see all the changes that are made. So if you're managing a project and you need to see who's making what changes and if the changes they made are good or bad, you can also just get that email, and just by looking at it in a minute or two, you can see if they're doing things the right way, and you can provide them immediate feedback and say, hey, Joe, you made these changes. I think you could have also done this and this. It would have been cleaner or something like that. So it's a great tool. You have to know how to use version control. If you don't, you're not, in my opinion, a competent web developer. You just have to use it. So you can use SVN. If you're using Windows, SVN Turquoise is a really good tool. Very easy. Lately, there's more here, especially here in Silicon Valley. GitHub is becoming a lot more popular. Well, it has become a lot more popular than SVN. I personally like SVN a lot, especially in the Windows setting. But GitHub is another one that a lot of people use. So try both and get yourself familiar. Spend about an hour or two getting yourself familiar with SVN Turquoise, and then spend another few hours getting yourself familiar with GitHub. I don't think there is graphical user interface or application you can use to do things on GitHub as easy as Turquoise, SVN. Although there may be tools out there that we haven't discovered. But try both, get yourself familiar, test it, and as part of your assignment, you may be asked to set up a repository, SVN or GitHub, and check out some codes and just see how this works. It's harder to do if you're just doing it by yourself. So maybe get some friends to commit codes and create some conflicts in the codes, and see how the codes can be merged and things like that. So I hope this is helpful. We may create some other videos for you guys if some of these things are confusing. So have fun.